Diabetes and blood clots are closely linked, and what you eat can have a huge impact on your risk of both of these potentially deadly conditions. But which types of food can raise your risk of both diabetes and dangerous blood clots? Does diabetes make you even more prone to developing a clot? And what do these things actually do to your body anyway? Let's find out. The 8 worst foods that can lead to blood clots, especially for diabetics. Before we get into the list, maybe we should quickly review this whole thing with blood clots. What's so bad about them anyway? After all, isn't it a good thing that your blood can clot? Well, yes. When a blood vessel is damaged, blood platelets are designed to quickly stick together. This forms a temporary plug, thereby preventing excess blood loss from a cut, wound, or an internal injury. It also provides structural support for new cell growth and will allow your skin and tissue underneath the damaged area to heal, while protecting against bacteria and pathogens from entering your bloodstream through an open wound. And without this ability of your blood to form clots, even minor injuries to your blood vessels could lead to serious and deadly continuous internal bleeding. So that begs the question, what's so wrong with blood clots? Don't think of it as good versus bad, but rather too much versus too little. You see, having an increased risk of clots developing in your veins and arteries can lead to big trouble for your heart, and can increase your risk for deep vein thrombosis, heart attacks, and strokes. But what does any of this have to do with diabetes? Well, here's the deal. Having chronic high blood sugar, erratic glucose levels, and excess insulin in the bloodstream may lead to increased blood viscosity, which makes your blood stickier and more prone to clotting, chronic inflammation, which can also lead to sticky blood and blood vessel damage, endothelial dysfunction, or damage to the linings of your blood vessels, which reduces their ability to prevent clots from forming, high blood pressure, which weakens blood vessels and can increase the risk of microscopic tears in arteries. Hypertension can also lead to arterial plaque buildup and atherosclerosis, or hardened and narrowed arteries, which further increases the chances of developing clots. Plus, diabetes is linked to high cholesterol and triglycerides, which can also contribute to arterial plaque formation, thereby heightening the risk of blood clots. And insulin resistance, which may lead to abnormal blood platelet activity, thus increasing the risk of clotting. And of course, having type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance may also cause weight gain and obesity, which further raises your chances of developing blood clots. All told, research shows that becoming diabetic will make you 2 to 4 times more likely to develop blood clots. Alright, so now that you know a bit more about blood clots and diabetes, you can probably guess some of the foods that can heighten your risk for both conditions. And we're about to break those down for you. But first, don't forget to like and subscribe, and please leave a comment below. Okay, so let's start today's list with one of the major no-nos for your blood sugar and excessive blood clotting: sugary sodas. It's pretty clear that overdoing your intake of sugar-filled soft drinks is not great for your health in general, but you may not realize that this is a food, or, well, beverage, that can create conditions for blood clots to form inside your body. Consuming refined sugars not only triggers immediate blood sugar and insulin spikes, they can also make your muscle cells less responsive to your insulin, meaning they can heighten your insulin resistance, which can cause abnormal blood platelet activity, thereby raising your risk of a clot. Plus, refined sugars can lead to chronic inflammation, which damages arteries and may potentially attract platelets to form clots. And did you know that, while these drinks may appear to quench your thirst, they can actually act as a diuretic and may lead to dehydration? Dehydration can cause blood to thicken, which further raises the risk of clotting. Of course, high consumption of high-sugar sodas can also lead to obesity, another major risk factor for blood clots. And regular consumption of sugary sodas is also linked to hypertension and increased LDL cholesterol and triglycerides, which can all also increase your chances of developing a clot. Oh, and here's something you may not know. Regular soda consumption has also been linked to irregular heart rhythms, or atrial fibrillation. This condition can cause blood to pool in the heart, which may then lead to a dangerous blood clot forming and traveling to the brain, where it can then cause a stroke. But all this should also clue you in to the fact that sugar-filled foods, just like sugary sodas, can cause all the same issues for your blood sugar and blood clotting. So yeah, you should also minimize your consumption of many cereals, pastries, ice cream, candies, and all those other naughty, high-sugar snack foods. Now, does this mean you should simply switch to those diet sodas? And what about different drinks? Are there any other liquids that can cause blood clots? We'll talk more about those products in just a sec, but first let's take a look at canned soups and instant noodles. These meals may be convenient and inexpensive in the moment, but over-consuming them can lead to years of medical bills and serious internal damage. A main feature of these highly processed products is their inclusion of sodium. In some cases, they can contain between 800 and 1500 milligrams of sodium per serving, which is more than half the recommended daily limit. Of course, having a high salt intake can lead to several blood clot increasing issues, including fluid retention, hypertension, obesity, blood vessel damage, dehydration, and deep vein thrombosis. Plus, these packaged products will surely contain high levels of preservatives and additives, like sodium benzoate and phosphate. Studies suggest that these chemicals can trigger inflammation, further heightening the risk of a clot. Some processed soups supply saturated fats, which can increase the risk of cardiovascular issues and may even contain harmful trans fats, which have also been linked to an increased risk of clotting. Meanwhile, canned soups and instant noodles are also typically filled with hidden sugars and large quantities of refined carbohydrates, which of course can lead to those clotting issues like insulin resistance, blood vessel inflammation and damage, and weight gain. What are some other processed foods that have been linked to blood clotting? The answer is coming up next. First, let's take a quick look at another liquid to cut back on: alcoholic beverages. This one seems pretty straightforward. Overdoing your alcohol intake is clearly detrimental to your overall health. But were you aware that it can also lead to a blood clot? That's because excessive drinking can cause increased blood pressure and chronic hypertension, which can lead to arterial damage and deep vein thrombosis, dehydration, which can lead to thickened blood, increased LDL cholesterol and arterial plaque buildup, which can cause cardiovascular damage, and even atrial fibrillation, which can lead to blood pooling in the heart. And these issues can all heighten the risk of developing a blood clot. Plus, it is well known that heavy drinking can damage the liver, and that can create an overproduction of cholesterol from the liver, clotting proteins, and blood thickening, thus raising the risk of excessive bleeding and blood clot formation. Okay, it's time to review another highly processed food that raises your risk of a blood clot. And coming up after that, we'll discuss those diet sodas. Are they any better for your heart and your risk of blood clots? Stay tuned for the answer. First, we think you should definitely watch your intake of bacon and processed meats. Sadly, yes, bacon is a gigantic no-no for your heart and your blood, especially if you already suffer from hypertension, diabetes, or obesity. These heavily treated foods utilize large helpings of sodium for flavor and preservation purposes. So eating too much processed meat can definitely lead to those blood clot issues like hypertension, fluid retention, and arterial damage. Also, bacon and other deli meats are very high in saturated fat, which can increase your LDL cholesterol and arterial plaque formation. As plaques build up, they can rupture, which can trigger blood clots that may lead to heart attacks or strokes. Plus, like other processed foods, bacon and other processed meats contain preservative agents, namely nitrates and nitrites, which have been shown to increase inflammation in blood vessels, cause damage to endothelial cells in the lining of blood vessels, and increase blood platelet aggregation, potentially leading to stickier blood, all of which can work to heighten the risk of a dangerous blood clot. At the end of the day, Studies show that regularly eating processed meats can increase your risk of diabetes by over 50%. And of course, having diabetes will then increase the likelihood of developing blood clots. Do you have any personal stories about diabetes and dangerous blood clots? Please tell our community about your experiences in the comment section below. Okay, so as promised, it's time to discuss those diet sodas. Now, shouldn't removing all that sugar from your drink help your blood sugar and your risk for clots? It might, if it weren't for the fact that food corporations never take something away from their products without adding something back in. And in the case of diet sodas, if they are low in sugar, they will surely be high in artificial sweeteners. Fake sugars, including aspartame, sucralose, and saccharin, often found in diet soft drinks and other diet food products, have been found to lead to a disrupted gut microbiome, which can heighten your levels of both inflammation and insulin resistance, thereby increasing your risk for clots. And though these drinks and artificially sweetened foods may not cause an immediate glucose spike, having a disrupted gut microbiome is linked to higher blood sugar levels, which of course can damage blood vessels, further raising the risk of a clot. Artificial sweeteners can also trick your brain into releasing extra insulin into your bloodstream, and over time, that can increase your insulin resistance and further raise your risk of developing a blood clot. Meanwhile, some artificial sweeteners have been suggested to cause blood platelet aggregation, and the sweetening agent erythritol specifically is associated with blood clot formation in those already suffering from heart disease. Plus, some studies indicate that regular consumption of diet sodas and other foods which contain artificial sweeteners can increase your risk of metabolic syndrome, a catalog of conditions that include high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and high blood sugar, which naturally are all major risk factors for blood clots. Alright, there are still 3 more major foods to avoid if you wish to improve your blood sugar while lowering your risk of blood clots. But these products can get you and your body into trouble for many of the same reasons as the previous foods in this list. So it's time to talk about white bread, deep-fried foods, and full-fat dairy products. White bread is loaded with glucose-spiking refined flour. Over time, eating too many of these simple-carb, no-fiber foods can lead to obesity, blood vessel damage, inflammation, and heightened insulin resistance, all common risk factors for increased blood stickiness and blood clotting. Deep-fried foods are often cooked in saturated fat-laden cooking oils, and the process of deep frying can lead to the formation of artery-clogging trans fats. Eating these toxic fats has been shown to increase LDL cholesterol while lowering your levels of artery-cleansing HDL cholesterol, which narrows arteries and reduces your body's ability to clear out blood clots. Deep-fried foods are also typically loaded with sodium, which can raise blood pressure and the risk of blood clots. And the toxic compounds within cooking oils used for deep frying have been shown to promote clotting by activating platelets and creating stickier blood, while also causing inflammation and damage to blood vessels. Eating too many fried foods can also heighten your risk of atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of a blood clot moving to the brain and causing a stroke. Full-fat dairy products offer all these same negative health consequences, since they will be high in saturated fat and sodium. They also contain certain dairy proteins, namely casein, which may increase inflammatory markers for some people. And of course, overdoing your consumption of full-fat dairy products, or white bread, or fried foods can easily lead to weight gain, further heightening your risk for heart disease, diabetes, and dangerous blood clots.